Not the most at risk.
St. Clair Shores, March 16th, 2020 City Council meeting order. Mary, please call the roll.
Mayor Walby.
Here.
Councilmember Aisha.
Here.
Councilmember Karen.
Here.
Councilmember Frederick.
Present.
Councilmember Rusi.
Present.
Councilmember Vitale.
Here.
And Councilmember Rubino asked to be excused.
Move to excuse.
Support.
Moved by Councilwoman Rusi, supported by Councilman Frederick, excuse Councilman Rubino. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, please rise for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get into the meeting, which we do not have any proclamations or presentations, so the next item will be item 3, which is audience participation for agenda items. I thought, obviously, with this what is happening here, many changes, and as you see here regarding the virus, there's a little change here. Our intention here was to meet the requirement that the CDC and the President of the United States has implemented. Of course, at I think the press conference at 3 o'clock, he asked for individuals or no more meetings with 10 or less people. Obviously, we have a substantial agenda and we need to get through it, so we kind of split it up and tried to separate us. We put Mr. Koppler over there, Mr. Erie, although years past, I think the city attorney used to sit over there over there on that side, so we're just old days. And we've tried to split up the audience, but so that's why it's a little different up here. And of course, the library and senior center and civic arena have now closed. The governor has instituted an executive order that started today affecting the city. And I thought I would turn it over to the city manager, Matt Koppler, to kind of highlight again. We've tried to put that information out, but to kind of highlight some of the changes that are coming to the city to obviously, I guess at the end of the day, protect the individuals and to work with the requirements that we've been forced to regarding the governor and specifically the governor, because that's who's issued the executive orders, and of course the president, which is asking us things. So, Mr. Koppler.
Yes, thank you. To say the least, the ground underneath our feet is constantly moving.
Put your mic up a little higher.
You gotta push the button.
Oh,
When you're in the side seats, you gotta push the button for the mics.
The side seats.
It's safe to say,
Your sideshow.
based upon the events here in the last week, that the ground underneath our feet is constantly moving. And as we try to come to grips with all the changes that are being made above us, we're looking at what makes sense for our operations, the resident safety and welfare, which has always been the top thing that we're looking at. And, last week we made the decision that our senior activity center was going to be closing its programs down, thinking about, one of the populations that is highly impacted by the COVID virus. And that kind of led into a meeting this morning looking at how we're going to address the rest of our operations and facilities. And then, during that, the governor released another executive order that kind of defined some of the things that we were going to be doing, but we were going to be taking on a different time scale, which would have been yesterday, closing it down. So we did put out a public release earlier today that outlines all the steps that we're taking. So as Mayor Walby said, our buildings effective tomorrow morning will all be closed to the public. We believe that there are still avenues for residents to interact with us. Utility bills that will be due, those can be paid online, or they can drop the check in the drop-off box and still, be able to fulfill that duty of paying for their usage. With a lot of our other operations, the community development, we're requesting that people call ahead and talk to our staff to find out, how to go about doing the work that is necessary. We're going to be very flexible. We're going to be very adaptable, try to meet the needs and keep our operations going forward as much as possible. But unfortunately, seemed like every hour today, that was changing. And so our best stab at what, our operations we're going to look like change between, again, 8 a.m. when we were talking about it and 3 p.m. when then the president put out that we can only supposed to have 10 people, and we need to be looking at, this distancing amongst citizens going well into August. So all that is to say that what we're talking about today may change tomorrow and may definitely look different a week from now. So we have to be prepared for that. But again, I think we are looking to try to keep the essential services going. Even though we closed down the operations at the senior center, we felt that the meal program we had there is essential to a lot of our residents. And we adapted that to still be able to provide that service to them, but now in a takeout manner rather than them coming in and sitting down and doing that. And so wherever we can make those changes, that's what we're going to be doing, so we can still provide a level of government to the citizens throughout this whole process. The website is going to be, in our social media presence, is going to be the main way that we're going to be doing a lot of communications with our residents. So we recommend the residents keep track of that. We are setting up a number to call that, again, if they don't have access to the website or social media, they'll be able to contact us and we can direct them to get information in their hands to be able to make decisions on how to proceed going forward. Our first responders have been a key concern for us. Of course, our fire chief, Jamie Piper, is also our emergency manager and coordinator and has been on the phone quite a bit with a lot of different people. The county now is having regular updates, phone conferences, and again, on that side, the protocols for how we are going to be responding to calls is ever changing as well. But again, our first priority has to be to the first responders, because if we don't protect and take care of them, they're not going to be here to be able to provide that first response. And so again, as those protocols change, people may see a difference in how we go about providing those services, but it is our desire and our mission to provide the same high level of service throughout this. But again, that's going to change. And I think, again, we need to be flexible and understand that how we do that today may be different tomorrow. But providing, again, protection to our first responders is a very important aspect of all the different things that we've been doing in the last week. I don't know if you have any questions.
Yep, there's a questions from Mr. Frederick.
So, Matt, if somebody wants to get a permit, you want them to call first and then see if, maybe they can fill it out online or however else. I mean, explain that procedure for, both residents and people that are doing some construction, if they're actually doing it. I don't know.
And so this is going to be, I think there's, I'll answer that question. I think as we were preparing for this, we found a lot of areas within our operations that there are IT solutions to some of these things that unfortunately today we don't have in place. For the permitting aspect of it, we have, as you're aware, we have BSNA. They have a portal that would allow residents and contractors to actually submit these applications for permits through that, and they can be paid through that. Unfortunately, we don't have that. That's actually something that I directed the IT department to look into, get us pricing on that, because I think it's something that even though we may not have that for this emergency situation, I think we now know that we should have that and have that capability, and higher level of service to our residents and the businesses that do business within the city. So to answer your question, the way that we're looking at this now is that, there are going to be priority projects, any of our economic development projects that have multi-million-dollar or even hundreds of thousands of dollars impact on our community. We have to find a way to provide that service to them. We are not shuttering our operations because of this, but we also have to understand that there may be some things that we're not going to be able to do between now and whenever this comes to an end. So yes, we would like people to go online. And we put in the press release we sent out and online where to find the forms. Fill the forms out, send them in to us. We'll triage. We'll give you a call. If you don't call us, we'll let you know what that process looks like for that permit. But we do believe that a lot of plans that, our residents probably had to do some of these projects over the next couple of months probably changed effectively today with what the president and what the governor is doing.
Sure.
And so projects that involve life safety, your furnace fails and it has to be replaced, that's a priority for us. And again, give us a call, let us know what the situation is, and we'll work with the residents to get that taken care of, and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
We just, again, as I said earlier, we have to adapt to the situation. Things are going to change. Be patient with us as we work through, and we are going to be there to work with our residents to get these things taken care
So
of.
be patient with us, we'll be patient with you, that
Yes.
kind of thing.
I think that's very important. And, again, I think we understand the situation that we are all in at this point. We have to work together to make it through.
Well, and the other question or point is that a lot of the businesses are going to be closed. In fact, driving here tonight, I mean, almost every restaurant was dark. So I guess what I'm hoping we're not doing is, driving by and violating them for something that's in the parking lot or something like that. If we can just stop that, we don't want anybody to go crazy and, start storing stuff there. But at the end of the day, I think if we err on the side of caution there and not violate anybody.
Yeah, no, and again, we've had lengthy conversations about, what does our code enforcement operation look like going forward?
Okay.
If this progresses and stays the same going into April, we get a little warm weather, we get a little water, we're gonna have a lot of tall grass. That's something that we are going to have to address. I mean, we cannot take a step back and say, well, we're in this situation, because we know what the impacts of that are. It's not necessarily just, it doesn't look good. We know there are health safety issues with rodents, harborage in tall grass. And so we need to be proactive and provide that level of code enforcement going there. But we're not necessarily going to be going out and looking for things other than that. If it's a life safety issue, we're going to address it. But if it's not a life safety issue, it's probably not going to be addressed during this
All
period.
right.
And I think the point too is that we're moving slowly, right? It says the end of March, right? So I don't know if he said that, but I mean, we're not looking all the way to end of April. We're trying to do it in small amounts and move forward. Even another one is events, right? I mean, the event season's coming here. We've only canceled, I think, pretty much the March ones, and we're just being cautious as we go along, not to get too ahead of ourselves, right? So, and I think that's what we're trying to do on all of this.
And then my last question, in terms of city services on trash pickup, that's not affected. That's still going to continue, correct?
Again, that is an essential life safety type of service that there's been no conversation about discontinuing that.
And have we heard, or I know last year we started picking up the lawn clippings and all that April 1st. Is that pretty much the same?
Yeah, there hasn't been any adjustment to that, so whatever the start date is will be the start date for that.
Okay.
And again, that's, as of today, that's what our intention is, but, if someone above us makes a decision that would alter that, then, we would definitely try to communicate as much in advance as possible that we could do.
Great. All right.
Mr. Vitale.
The idea here being to limit exposure, this does not work.
Sorry about that.
The idea
Sorry.
being to limit exposure to other employees at City Hall from the public, and I suppose to the public from other employees at City Hall.
Absolutely.
Have we looked into the idea of using something like, we have that room at the back of the library that used to be a cafe that essentially serves almost no purpose now?
It's the reading room.
Okay, whatever. Could we move all the old books and everything that are filling it up now and maybe use that as some sort of satellite office to maybe separate residents from the full City Hall that has its own entrance if we need to conduct a meeting or submit a plan or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea to look into and see how we can do that. I mean,
I originally thought of the idea of a trailer. Actually, I originally thought of the idea of a drive-up window. I think we used to have a drive-up window
We
at
did.
City Hall.
We did.
Okay, so good. I wasn't imagining that from when I was like 8. But I thought of the drive-up window idea, then I thought of a trailer idea, and then I thought, well, we've got a room right here at City Hall that isn't really doing anything. Could we maybe look into using that room?
yeah, and I think, understand that we're, as the mayor said, kind of looking at this in phases. If it appears that we are going to be in this state for longer than March 31st, I think a lot of different ideas open up to us on how to continue, a higher level of service, because I don't think we should be thinking that closing down City Hall is going to be a 6-month type thing. I mean, we just need to think about how we provide the service differently. And as the mayor said, we don't want to jump to doing things that may be not necessary if at the end of March, they come back and say, hey, this was really successful, so, we're going to start relieving some of these things in the next week. But if it looks like this is going to be a longer impact in services, then we need to start looking at those different ways to do that. So
Okay.
the strategy today is from a short-term perspective that we hope that this is not going to be a long-term, but we're preparing for the long-term, looking at a lot of different ideas, which now your idea has been added to the list.
Okay. I mean, I think there may be occasions where that face-to-face is, a resident just approached us this evening before the meeting about an issue that they had received a ticket, and quite honestly, if they had sent that to me in an email, I may not have been able to really visualize it. It was only upon actually seeing the documents and the hand gestures and things like that you don't get from an email, I was able to understand it a little better. So I think that's something we have to keep in mind.
I think to me, this is not the way that we should be running government, but I think at this point in time, this is the only way that we can effectively meet all the different.
We're in agreement there.
Yeah. But it's the only way today that we can address all these different issues in a manner that makes sense to not, hinder or hurt the public safety. But again, if it starts looking like this is going to be a longer term, then we need to think differently and need to do some things that again, protect our employees and protect the residents, but allow us to start restoring a higher level than where we're at today.
Okay.
Or will be tomorrow.
Ms. Rusi.
Thank you. How are we dealing with board review?
So the Board of Review has finished their work today.
Okay.
I did get that email from the assessor that they completed their work.
Okay, so that's taken care of. I know we cancel committee meetings, board meetings, those type of things. If this goes on for a while where these recommendations or mandates, are still in place, we'll have to have, the ZBA or the planning commissioner or boards or commissions that fulfill a legal obligation meet somehow, and even the other committees that do important work in the city that may not rise to the level of, legal obligations. Council too, I mean, we have to conduct the business of the city. I know the governor hasn't issued any sort of mandates about the application of the Open Meetings Act under these circumstances, but could we follow up with the governor's office and see if that's coming down too? Because we need to find a way to allow things to happen in a safe manner, maybe she will allow teleconferences or things like that so we can keep having the necessary business of the city conducted, but do so in a manner that meets the recommendations and the mandates and so on and so forth.
And we are, I know Mr. Erie's working on that, I think actually Mary too, specifically with the parade committee that's coming, that one that has to make decisions here, and so they're working on that.
Okay, so that's a work in progress,
yes.
and, okay, good.
Trying to see if we can't video conference and.
Yeah, we were on a webinar earlier this afternoon with the Michigan Municipal League, and they did say that they are expecting either another directive or clarification from the governor's office within the next day about the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, good, because these recommendations, mandates impact every municipality in Michigan. And there are things we still need to operate and things we still need to do involving the business of the city. And I just want to thank administration, the mayor. I know that these last couple of days have been very hectic with how fluid everything is, what's a recommendation, what's a mandate, the changing nature of that coming from various sources. So just thanks for staying on top of it and getting the information out, making the decisions as necessary in this fast-moving environment.
Mr. Vitale.
Something that Councilwoman Rusi mentioned actually brought something to mind for me, and this isn't so much a question for Matt, but more or less speaking to residents. And that is that a lot of these mandates from the governor are being pushed upon us. I am not at all happy with this idea of pushing government underground, that meetings will not be open and not conducted in the public eye, and I think we will make every effort to make sure that that doesn't happen. However, as you can see, our hands to some extent are tied, so I would say to residents at home who share my concerns, push back. Push back on your governor, push back on your other elected officials at the state level, because things run downhill, and that's how they're running right now.
Good, Matt? It's harder now you hear. I could just...
I have to remember to push this button, which is killing my thumb, by the way.
Okay.
Workers' comp claim coming.
Item 3 is audience participation. Mary, do we have any regarding the agenda items?
There are none, Mayor.
Okay. Item 4, request for transfer ownership of escrow Clinton Township Class C liquor license to the Lido Restaurant 24026. Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Clerk, City Manager. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come before you with this request. I submitted my application about a month and a half ago, and earlier than that with the state. The state has conditionally approved the license transfer, and I'm just here to look for your approval to move it to the location at Trader Todd's Marina.
So you're the owners, or?
My husband is the owner of the marina.
Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, they're out in the audience.
Yeah.
No, this is exciting. What are your plans a little bit? I know it's not right here, but
So,
tell us about it.
with
This is the
everything
old
going
Lido.
on-
This is the old Lido down there, and
Correct, yes. So-
Bondiamos, Rojos.
Right.
Current.
It's had an illustrious history. And what I'm hoping to do is to revitalize the concept there, bringing something that will be both boater-friendly and community-friendly. I want to keep it casual. I have a place in Chicago that has been around for 20 years that has sort of an island casual vacation theme to it. We're about 4 blocks from Wrigley Field. We have a tiki bar there. I want to bring that type of environment, but with a focus on the first floor, with more dining atmosphere there, with more of the bar atmosphere being on the second floor. So if you're familiar with the location, it has a beautiful view
Yes.
and an outdoor patio, so
Yeah.
I think it'd be great in the summertime.
Oh, for sure. We're looking forward to it. Mr. Karen.
Thank you. Yeah, it actually has one of the best views, especially from the second floor
Yep.
of any of those restaurants along there. So your LLC is the Lido Restaurant. Are you bringing back the Lido name?
Well, it's funny, in Chicago, our back room is lovingly called the Lido Deck. My husband has fond memories of the Lido Restaurant when he was a child here. It was the name I chose for the corporation when we were first entering into this endeavor. I don't know that I'll call it that yet.
Okay.
It's still fluid. I'm working with different folks, some people that I might possibly partner with in the operation. So that's a little bit fluid right now, and with everything going on, we might have some new directions.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Frederick.
So I'm pretty excited that you guys are going to get that back open.
Thank you.
And Todd, welcome back to St. Clair Shores. I know you're a South Lake graduate, right? Way to go.
Oh,
All right.
fantastic.
And I guess one thing I want to add is you could probably make some money if you took a tour of the basement over there, if you let some people go down there and take a peek, because it's got a lot of history down there too, right? So, oh my God. And
Secret passages as well?
well, there's a spot where there could have been a secret passage.
There you go.
And you got those, and you've got those wooden door walk-ins that are just, 1,000 years old. So, I mean, so there's a lot of history there that maybe we could take advantage, or you could take advantage of. And, like John said, the view up there is awesome. I know, I think I filmed a nautical mile promo up there one year. I mean, it's just gorgeous looking out, especially when the boats are in the water, right? So, but now you're going to be leasing that from Trader Todd's to,
Correct.
okay. So
I'm
it's
used
in
to
the
this. My
family.
husband's been my landlord for 20 years in Chicago.
Oh, I see. So you got the thumb going on that. All right, way to go. Awesome. Well, I would move to approve.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Frederick, supported by Ms. Rusi. A question by Mr. Vitale.
Only a comment, really, just to say thank you for filling another place in St. Clair Shores. My in-laws have fallen in love with one of your competitors. They even come here and don't see us. So they drive all the way from Ohio. So I'll make sure that they get into your place when it's open, so they can snub us there. So, but good luck to you. I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you very much, and I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure so far with the process here in St. Clair Shores, and I'm really looking forward to doing business here.
Great.
Thank you.
Glad to hear. Motion to approve, which was moved by
Already
Mr.
done?
No, moved by Mr. Frederick, supported by Ms. Rusi to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Item 5 will come back at a future meeting. They elected to withdraw and come back, hopefully maybe at the next meeting or the following meeting, but so we'll see them in the future. Item 6 is planning case blah, 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 request for revised site plan approval for a retail operation represented by Kevin Chang, Wild Bills.
Good evening, Commissioners. Good meeting.
Evening.
Good evening. You guys might remember me. I was here a few months ago. My name is Kevin Chang. I'm from
Yes.
Wild Bills Tobacco Corporate. What I'm here tonight is to revisit the site plan approval, the petition that we submitted to the City Commission, based on the comments made from the previous City Council meeting and subsequent planning department meetings that we've had with Ms. Liz Cotto and Mr. Chris Race. What you see before you now is our current proposal for the window tints. To kind of refresh the City Council's memory, our original proposal was to black out all the windows on the second floor, all the windows on the first floor around the property, including the decals on top. Based on Commissioner Vitale's suggestion, we looked at another proposal to keep the blackout windows, but to open the second floor and then open some additional windows. Our proposal now is to have a transparent door, 2 flanking transparent windows that the St. Clair Shores Police Department is able to see into the store without any obstruction. And the rest of the windows are going to have a mirror tint to them, not a color tint of any kind, but a mirror tint. And that is the current proposal that we're submitting tonight to City Commission for their consideration.
Okay, before we move to the side, so Liz, point to the mirror, they'll be clear, he said, that they will be transparent?
Those two, the door, and those two.
And you said they can see right through, so that means there'll be no shelving or anything blocking there?
There might be like a 3-foot shelving in there, but if somebody were 5 feet or 6 feet, an officer is able to see right into the store. So there'll be a low shelving there.
Okay, a low shelving, but someone
They will be able to see into it.
see through it, and
Yep.
on those 2 windows and the door, of course.
And the door, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and then we have, okay,
And then we have existing Mullins. It's originally, as the commissioners know, this is meant for a restaurant. So we're using something that was meant for a restaurant for retail use, and we're zoned in the right district. So for us, we see the value of the design of this particular buildings, and there's existing Mullins on the glass. So we'll be willing, because Planning Commission did make a big deal about that when we went before Planning Commission, we will keep the Mullins on there, and then the mirror tint will be on the glass, placed behind the glass. So the existing design that's there on the windows will still stay there on the windows.
So you won't be able to see through any of those?
You won't be able to see any of those. Those are mirror tints. The second floor is translucent, so you will be able to see through the second floor. And then the other side would be the same as well. That's the back of where our counter is going to be, where we keep the cash and all of our, additional storage that we have back there. So these are mirrored off. There's no decals on these particular mirrors. Second floor is kept translucent as well and transparent that you can see through. We won't be using anything on the second floor, mainly just for storage, but if you go into the building, it's a mezzanine on top, so the natural sunlight will bring in that additional light into the area, so that would be nice as well.
So Liz, is that really the change from the last time they were here? Is really, in essence, the door and those 4 windows?
In addition to that, they were proposing black vinyl on the windows, which had a matte finish, and it would have covered up the mullions. So the spandrel or mirrored finish does bring more depth to each one of the windows. It's not as matte. And that is what was recommended by the Planning Commission initially. They did recommend using the spandrel or mirrored glass, so it is what was recommended by the Planning Commission.
So those are the changes?
Correct. In addition, they are leaving the second story uncovered completely.
Okay. And then we had issues regarding the property, right?
I'll let the landlord's attorney, Mr. Larry Scott, speak to that.
Well, I'd just like to hear this first, and then I'll give it to you. You can ask them all one time.
I thought you wanted to cover windows now.
That's all I get.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Larry Scott. I'm with the law firm of O'Reilly Rancilio, and I'm here on behalf of the landlord this evening.
And the landlord is?
Harper Management, LLC.
Okay, so you are the attorney suing us?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're the company suing the city over this?
Yes.
So, Mr. Erie, we can discuss the issue with Mr. Scott as he's suing the city? Harper?
We can discuss it because part of, we have not answered that complaint yet, with the understanding from Mr. Scott that we do not have to answer it while we were trying to work out the suit and the conditions of his client's treatment of the property in question as the owner. And I believe that we have worked out the conditions that were in dispute. Specifically, what was in dispute was whether or not the parking lot was going to be just repaired or replaced. Mr. Scott's client has agreed to completely replace the parking lot. There was also dispute as to when that was going to be done. There was some question as to whether or not they had a year to do it. We've reached an agreement that that will be accomplished no later than June 30th. 2020, absent some extreme circumstances. And then there was also a question of what if they don't do it? What kind of protection do we have from a financial viewpoint, and the protection that our site improvement agreement that was put in front of you tonight is that the amount of money that the replacement will cost is $50-some thousand, and we have requested that that money be placed in Mr. Scott's IOLTA account, his lawyer's trust account, so that if the work is not completed, that we will have access to those monies. Mr. Scott tells me that that money in the complete sum has been deposited in cash in his client's trust account. So presuming this, and Mr. Scott has presented me tonight with a signed site improvement agreement signed by Harper Management, essentially agreeing to those things that I just detailed, plus some more minor matters. I put in front of council tonight a red line version. It had not been completely agreed to yet. Mr. Scott and I have been working over the last several weeks to reach an agreement on this. There have been several red line changes. The last one was last Friday. That's the last one I had until tonight. That's why it was unfortunately not put in front of you until tonight. But the site improvement agreement that I have in my hand now is not a red line agreement. It does incorporate all of the items that are in red line. It does contain all of the obligations that I just detailed of Harper Management, the owner of the building, including the requirement that the owner provides a approved engineering plan as set forth in the city zoning ordinance and city code. So at this juncture, with respect to the litigation that Harper Management filed against the city, I trust that with this agreement, presuming that this proceeds on toward passage tonight, that lawsuit will be dismissed in short order. Am I right, Mr. Scott?
I am not prepared to make that representation. That was never presented to me before tonight. I've done everything the city's asked me to do time and time and time again. And I'm not saying it won't, but I'm not prepared to make that representation. I've done what everybody's asked me to do in order to get this project to proceed.
Well, if that's the case, I see that as a significant problem, but city council...
You're telling me that tonight it's 7:35.
Yeah, well,
That's the first time anyone's ever said that to me.
You gave us a signed copy at 5 to 7.
I got the draft at Friday afternoon.
You know
The
what?
red line draft from your attorney came to me on Friday afternoon. I accepted his changes today, and I got the agreement signed and the money deposited.
Well,
So
that was the second or third red line draft that has been
It's been going on
created,
since
but-
December.
It sure has.
I understand.
Yep, you and I both do. So we're all trying to work and resolve it, but
I am too. But if you're telling me that you're not going to approve this until the lawsuit's dismissed, then you got to do what you got to do. I get it. I was not told that before this evening.
Well, that was not what was said. What was said was that I trust that if this agreement is reached and the site plan is approved tonight, that the lawsuit would be dismissed. If that's not the case, then of course city council can take that into consideration in making its decision.
It's never been said to me before this evening.
I
So
would not recommend that it be passed unless litigation is going to be dismissed.
I understand.
okay. Anything else, comment on that, Bob?
None.
Okay. Mr. Scott, before I open it up to comments, and you have any other comments? I mean, he covered it.
I'm prepared to answer any
Okay.
questions anybody has, but
Mr. Vitale.
Question, well, I'll
I
go.
might go back and forth between you and Mr. Chang.
Actually, I think I'll
Windows.
go back to Mr. Chang
Okay.
first, because he did present the plan. Actually, all I was going to say about that is, first of all, nice way to name drop. I appreciate that. But this is, I think, at least what I was looking for, and I think there's been communications between myself and the police chief about the safety concerns and things like that, and you've addressed them to my satisfaction. I think this is actually a better plan than what you came at us with before. I assume this mirrored glass it's not like a mirror, it's like a smoked mirror or something like that?
No, it's solid.
Well,
Mr. Chang, talk into the mic,
I
please.
mean, because anything that's just a truly reflective mirror out on the Harper could be dangerous.
Originally, I'll be completely honest with you, Commissioner.
be
I had a
great.
meeting with, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I said, no, being completely honest, that would be great.
Yeah. Well, originally, what I meant is that I had a meeting on Thursday with Ms. Cotto and Mr. Reyes. We discussed the idea of frosted glass and also a lighter tint to the original black matted tent that we had there. Then I had a conversation with Mr. Uri that it might be a better idea to do a mirrored tent. The mirrored tent itself has no color to it, which is less offensive, in my opinion, but it is a mirrored tent, and we are on the corner of 9 Mile and Harper. So I completely understand the commissioners, if there is any concern that these are mirrored tents and there might be a reflection coming off of them, we can always go back to a frosted glass instead. That is also an
Looks like
option
Liz
for
has
us.
something.
Correct. Liz?
We can have them install it on one window, and then if
Yeah, I like
it meets
that.
the satisfaction, then they can finish it up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to defer to your guys' judgment and planning, I would hope you wouldn't actually put like actual mirrors.
No, we would not want actual mirrors. You are correct.
Because that would be
Yes.
one heck of a traffic
I agree.
distraction.
Yes.
So
And
I would
hot.
defer on that, and I like the plan with the clear glass that gives a little bit of safety in there. And I think that what we talked about, the 3-foot shelving or something, well, it looks like these walls, these knee walls that are in front would kind of cover that anyways.
They'll
So
cover it, yep.
I don't think that should be an obstacle.
Yes.
So kudos to you on that measure. The next item I want to address would pertain to the site improvement agreement. And I think Mr. Erie can probably just answer this one for me. It does appear that there's a conflict in language here. Letter D says that subject to conditions which include certain site plan improvements be completed by the owner within 1 year of the date of approval.
What that is, Councilman, is that falls under recitals. That essentially is just detailing the existing set of circumstances that existed, past tense, and that have occurred.
Okay, I do understand this. So it's not there's not a conflict with the site improvement language in number 1. So this is before, after.
That is
Understood.
correct.
Thank
That
you.
is correct. If you look at page 2, the second paragraph, it says, "Now therefore, owner and city
Yes.
wish to set forth." This is the agreement. And before I forget to say it, if you look at number 1, under site improvements, the last sentence of that paragraph indicates that in addition, owner shall apply either spandrel mirror glass, preferably a lighter color, or blinds on the windows while preserving the visibility of the existing mullions or mullion pattern. Any motion, if there is a motion to approve these pictures that were submitted tonight by city administration, I want it clear in the record that these pictures and the offer that was made by Mr. Chang supersede that last sentence of site improvements number 1, paragraph number 1. And secondly, it is my recommendation that if there is a motion to approve it, that the motion be approved, that the site plan be approved, subject to dismissal of the pending lawsuit by Harper Management.
Thank you for clarifying.
Mr. Isha?
Yes, thank you. When we talked last time, I said I don't like the mirrored glass, all blacked out. I was looking for more of a tinted glass, like you have in a car where you can see through it, but it's still tinted. The police officer can see through it. You're putting a spaniel glass up, or you can't see through it.
That's true, and there's a reason behind that. It's because we have slot walls behind those windows. So aesthetically, if you were able to see through the windows, you'll see the dry walls and the slot walls behind that. So to avoid that unaesthetic behind the slot wall view.
You're trying to cover up the other walls. I realize that, but there are tints that you have to, if you're a couple of feet away, you can see through it. If you're 5 feet away, you can't see through them. And I don't see where that would impair anything, what you're doing over there.
I'm open to, if the council wants to dictate
I
what
would
kind
like
of
to see
tint we
some
want to
kind of
go.
a tinted glass, something that doesn't reflect, it's tinted, where you can see
You
through
go
it.
back to the frosted glass that I think
Yeah,
we
that-
talked
that
about
would
before.
work for
That's
me.
fine with us too, as well.
Thank you.
Ms. Rusi?
Thank you. Well, Councilman Vitale covered the question I had about using the term mirror glass and what that implicated versus maybe the flat spandrel glass on Buffalo Wild Wings or the old Prime Time, or what was being contemplated here. And Bob covered the question I had about the red language in paragraph 1 with the options. The one question that I have that isn't so much of a question, but a statement, I guess. We keep mentioning lawsuit litigation, this pending litigation filed by Harper Management. We know what that is. We approved it at a previous meeting as a receive and file. I don't know if the residents are aware of what this litigation entails, and we keep referencing it, especially as a condition. Bob, could you kind of summarize what that litigation is?
Well, the litigation basically was a suit complaining that the matter had not been previously approved. essentially.
It was not previously put on the agenda, right, for discussion because we tabled it. Is my memory correct of
Yes.
this?
Yes.
Yes.
And then what happened was that we put it on the agenda. So
So asking for a dismissal of that lawsuit, given that we did put on the agenda, that would be part of the motion approving the plan, if that goes forward, would be appropriate, correct?
yes, I would recommend that if there is an approval that does take place, that it be conditioned upon that litigation being dismissed.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Frederick?
Yep. I wish you had more windows that you could see through, actually. I guess this is a step in the right direction. You know, you have a high school that's just down the block from you. And I know you guys are going to keep track of not letting some of those folks in who are under 18, I believe. Is that what you told?
21 now.
21. I just worry that, you know, the next person in there or your franchisee or whoever's in there, you know, may not be as diligent. And that's one thing I worry about. The other thing I worry about is having all of the windows all the way around blacked out, that there's, you know, I understand the cash on the backside, but the Harper side, which is clearly the most traffic side, not being able to see in there because you have walls in front of them, it's kind of an issue for me. Secondly, and this will probably go to Mr. Scott, I guess, Mr. Erie, will you give me some history? When did we ask the landlord or the property owner to repair the parking lot? How long ago was that?
That was 2015.
So 5 years ago, and did they agree to do it?
They did, yes. Yes.
All right, so they agreed 5 years ago, and we gave them how long to do it?
I believe at that time it was 1 year.
So we had 1 year to do it. So you got, I mean, I know you got a little hot and heated when we were talking, but you guys haven't done anything that you said. All right, so we're a little worried, and you got to understand why we are, because you haven't done it. All right. The other problem I have with the parking lot is that parking lot, as Mr. Vitale pointed out in the meeting that we did discuss this at, is that parking lot is significantly higher because whoever had it before kept putting, maybe it was you guys, kept putting layers and layers and layers, and now the actual height of that parking lot is way too high. So I want to make sure.
I believe it's in here, though, that
Is
it
it?
has to be right, Mr. Erie, it's in here regarding it has to meet
Does
the
it talk
engineering.
about grade?
The engineering standards.
It has to meet St. Clair, they have to provide engineered drawings satisfactory to the city, which would address that matter.
Yes.
All right, so I just want to make sure that that is addressed. I want it on record that we talked about it here at the meeting, Mary, so that, you know, we're sure that you have heard it, understood it, and are taking it back to your client. Scott, good?
Yep, but it's in the doc.
All right.
It's in the document.
Out everything that's there, and we're putting in 6 inches of concrete at a
Okay.
grade that the city's going to approve.
Okay.
That was all part of what we did. The other part about the 2015, in my opinion, is not accurate, just so you know.
2015, we did not ask you to do the parking lot?
Find me one piece of paper from this city from 2015 till now that said you didn't do what you were supposed to do, go do it. It doesn't exist.
Well,
There's not a letter, there's not a ticket, there's nothing. We got a site plan approval in 2015, and it expired. But there's nothing there that mandated that all of this work with the site plan approval be done within 1 year. And there's not a piece of paper. I'm not being disrespectful, please understand where I'm coming from. Not a thing from this city to my clients saying, what are you guys doing? You haven't done what you were supposed to. There was a question in the November Planning Commission meeting, what will the landlord do? And we responded saying, we'll do everything you've asked us to do. And then from that point forward, this thing kept getting pulled off the agenda. We had to have an agreement. Who in your city has to have an agreement and put up cash to come into town and do work? No one. But we had to have an agreement. We had to meet with everybody. We have to put up the cash. We had to go out and get the estimate. I've done everything I can to try to make this work.
And
I own property in this city. I've owned a lot of property in this city. I've never been difficult with anybody. But for some reason, this project's been a problem, and I don't know what it is.
My answer is I'm not going to go back. We're here today.
To go forward.
Because I don't agree with Mr. Scott, but just to keep moving, going back, today we have this agreement. This agreement has been highlighted by Mr. Erie. It is, according to Mr. Erie, if we're going to go forward, it's got to be subject to the Harper management lawsuit and being dropped. I mean, that's, so I don't think we would totally agree with Mr. Scott, but let's move forward. We're here in
parking
March
lot.
of 2020, and that's the project. We get the new driveway, which we, at least I think everybody up here felt that was the big issue when they came the first time. That was.
You said
part of it.
driveway, you mean parking lot?
Parking lot, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. And that should be done by June 30th, 2020, barring any act of God or something, but I
I don't want
understand.
to talk about today, but I understand what you're saying.
I understand, but, you know.
Yes,
we're
we
just, we're
intend
not looking for,
We've signed a contract to get it done. We've
Okay.
deposited the money. I've provided copies of the contract to the city, and, that's where we're at.
okay.
Anyone else before the motion would be in order? Nope. Liz?
I confirm it's going to be a concrete parking lot?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You need a motion.
I would make a motion to,
Mr. Vitale?
I would make a motion to accept the site plan, subject to the provisions on the glass, the tint, and the clear windows surrounding the door, and additionally, the dropping of a lawsuit against the city by the represented party,
And incorporating these pictures.
incorporating everything that's in the pictures and in the red line document, which I believe we
Yes.
have as a black document with the
I
city
have the
attorney.
non-redlined version. Yes, I'll submit it to Mary.
Yep, I'll support that.
So it was moved by Mr. Vitale to accept the changes made by Wild Bill's, also to accept the agreement brought forward by Harper Management with the idea that it is subject to Harper Management lawsuit being dropped.
Yes.
That was supported by Ms. Rusi.
And that's the site improvement agreement, correct?
Yes. Mr. Karen?
Yeah, I guess, I'm just gonna vote no. The front facing of the building, I think, should all be clear. The petitioner could make it that way. I'm all right with the side and the back because of what we allowed for Buffalo Wild Wings, what we allowed for AutoZone, that those are facing Harper and they're allowed to be the spangled blackout glass because of the orientation of the building. But I think Wild Bill's could have kept the whole front of that clear. So it'd be even easier to see inside.
I just want to clarify.
Mr. Chang, if you're going to speak, please just do the mic so that
I'm
we all
sorry,
can,
yeah.
we can all hear you. That's all, yeah.
I just want to be clear. We can do the windows clear, but there is drywall behind those windows. Our stores have a layout. We have 120 locations. We build these out based on a certain layout. And because of that, this particular layout for our store, which it's not the size-wise, it's just the building itself is unique because it's meant for a restaurant. But the inside
Fully
floor plan
understand.
is not that
You're
different.
deciding to go there. Building layouts, interior layouts can be different. I think you could do a retail layout inside that would keep that whole front side clear.
Taking out a lot of stock. I don't mean to argue with you by no means.
And that's my
but-
opinion, I'm one vote up here.
That's right. So with that, Mr. Asia?
Well, I kind of like the idea of it clear also. I mean, I don't mind looking at a little drywall. I mean, I want the police to be able to look in, so it's safe.
You
can't see through drywall.
They won't be able to see in through
It's
the
going to be
drywall.
solid
These
drywall?
are drywalls all the way
I
up
thought
to
you were
the.
talking about column walls or
Yeah, these are
something.
walls, stock walls all the way up, so they'll block the windows, except for the four windows that are flanking the doorways.
And the
that are
doors will be
transparent.
clear. And the door.
And the doors
And the
being
door.
transparent.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying that.
Mr. Frederick?
Yeah, maybe we can come to a compromise and get more of us on board. So you said you could do clear, but it would be blocking because of your, the way the store's laid out. Councilman Karen mentioned that you can do different layouts. And maybe a compromise would be, the four of the windows to the right of the door, the first four windows to the right of the door, And then you can still box around those windows in terms of your shelving and all that. And I got to tell you, I appreciate you have 120 stores. Kentucky Fried Chicken came to us, and we put them through a little bit just based on the stuff that we know our community likes, right? So they had to change the way their bucket looks on the outside of the building, all right? They had to go to sign arbitration, they had to do a bunch of stuff, and they did it. So I guess I don't want you to think that we're picking on you, all right?
Well, I completely understand.
There's a little bit of safety involved in this, all right? And that's, I'd like to err on the side of safety. And, having the, help us help keep you safe is what I'm saying to you. And your employees and your customers, barring any problem. I'm sure you're going to have a button if something's going on, it's going to go right to the police, and they're going to come out there, and now they can't see in.
They will be still able to see into the store. I mean, sitting down with the police chief at the meeting we had, let's say 2 months ago, the police chief had the ability to comment on the windows decals, the proposal we had at that time. That was with the black matted out windows at that time. And I don't want to put words in his mouth, but my understanding from that meeting is that if he's able to see into the store, if his officer's able to see into the store, he feels comfortable with the transparency of the windows. There's nothing, I hope Councilman doesn't take this the wrong way, there's nothing against us from just putting up the windows, putting up the stock walls, and just leaving it there like that. But we rather come in with mirrored tents or less tented out windows, or even put in blinds. If you feel more comfortable on this side of the store with blinds facing that aesthetically, we're open to that idea. But I understand we're not as big as KFC. We're not as big as McDonald's and all these other big chains, or even auto parts store of that type. But the reason why we are successful is because I mentioned this last time in our last meeting. We build out, we have a layout. This is how we produce and lay out our stores, and our customers are used to that. They're used to coming in, seeing a certain environment that they're used to, and that is part of our appeal to our customers. So originally our stock wall was going to go all the way up to the door. We compromised, allowing the 2 transparent windows that you can see into. We eliminated those stock walls, so there's nothing there for those 4 windows, and we're keeping the remainder of the stock wall there so we can keep our products up. And we carry a lot of inventory at our stores, so we need the space to stock everything up and display it at our stores.
So are those stock walls, do they come in 4-foot, 8-foot sections, do you know?
I can't speak specifically to that. Our project manager would know better.
Okay.
You're good?
If we're ready to go for a
Okay.
vote, I mean, I would
Ms.
make a
Rusi.
comment on the windows again, but.
Okay. Ms. Rusi wants to.
I'm going to make a comment on the windows. I think what they present represents a decent compromise compared to what was first presented, and the statements made up here. I mean, if you go to CVS by 11 or Walgreens by 10 or Dollar General, the new one, you can see through maybe this far up if you're really tall, and all you can see is the ceiling and the fluorescent lights, but you can't see into the store. We have how many businesses across the state you could drive up and down Jefferson and see they have blinds and they're shut all the time, you can't see in. What they're recommending right now, at least you'll have open windows, you'll have the open door, you can see in. You won't be able to see in any, but I don't know anyone who can see, all of them, but I don't know anyone who can see through drywall. So I think that this represents a good compromise. I think it represents, if you measure safety by being able to see in, right now, I think this puts it very far ahead of a lot of businesses already in the city. Based on the ones I've named, all the businesses that have blinds are shut all the time. Even if they wanted to put blinds up as discussed, are blinds even part of a site plan? I know the answer to that, but it's not.
They're not. Blinds can be put up at any time.
And do we have any ordinances that blinds have to be open?
No.
So, yeah, I think that this is like I said, a good compromise representing work by the petitioner to meet some of the demands made up here last time. So I'm okay with this.
Okay. Mr. Vitale?
Good point, Candace.
All right, well, I guess twisted my arm. Now I will make more comment on the window. Basically, echoing what Councilwoman Rusi had to say, and, I do understand the dilemma you're facing here is that this was not laid out well for retail. You need the space to have your racks and things like that. And I do think there was a real effort here made to compromise. And in terms of putting all the clear windows or 4 of the clear windows on one side, honestly, I think it's better to flank the door on both sides. I think if I were a criminal, there'd be more opportunity to hide from the police on one end of the store than the other that way. So I think flanking the windows, which is the point of entry, is actually a little safer. And just one more comment that I was going to make. I know a lot of Wild Bills do the LED outlines on windows. I'm going to guess it's been made clear that that's not something we allow here.
Yeah, we're not proposing that at this
Okay,
location.
just to get that on record too.
Right.
So.
Before, and I will make the comment that I do think also it's a good compromise, and when we met back in December, quite frankly, it was a pleasant meeting, and you were very workable. I do appreciate it, and I would say to Harper Management, although I don't think we totally agree, I do appreciate the fact that we have a signed document here, and we're going to move forward here on the parking lot if it passes. So I do appreciate that we have made steps. Maybe it took a little longer, but we're here, and I do appreciate it. So with that, Mary, why don't you have a roll call vote that was moved by Mr. Vitale, supported by Ms. Rusi, and you understand you've got the motion and all that. All right, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Vitale?
Aye.
Councilmember Rusi?
Aye.
Councilmember Aisha?
Aye.
Councilmember Karen?
No.
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
Mayor Walby?
Aye. 5-1, it passes. And then, so you'll be, I presume you've been wanting to get moving, so you'll be moving quickly?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Oh, after putting you through that ringer, since we said for everybody else usually, welcome. I'm sorry it was a little rough going, but, you know, sometimes that's the best way. And
I deal with marijuana on my other time, so I've dealt with tough city councils before, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome to the corner.
That's not coming here.
Just CDG lawyers.
Item 7 is the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, application for Kiteman Row Energy Efficient Field Lights and Universal Access Playground. First part of that is we set a public hearing, I believe at the last meeting, and so now we will open the public hearing to make any comments regarding this grant at Kiteman Row. So I will open the public hearing. Anyone who would like to speak regarding this issue? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, and we will move to item 7B, to request for approval to submit the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant application for Kiteman Row. We have in the city, as of late, received, I don't know, I guess, boy, time goes quick. It might be 4 years ago, we got the skate park grant at Kiteman Row. And then we also received good word that we got a grant for Bryce that we are working on now. And we are working on now another grant for Kiteman Row. We have a 5-year master plan. And the reason we have that, one of it is, there's a couple reasons, but one of them is the ability to submit to grants to the DNR, and that's what we intend to do on a yearly basis. And so I will kick that over to the Assistant City Manager, Bill Gamble, and our Parks and Rec Director, Henry Bowman, who have been working on this, and we need this submitted, I believe, by 4/1.
Correct. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. And thank you for, I think a lot of this is due to that 5-year master plan that we submitted and Council approved. So this is kind of the first one. We received the Bryce Park one last year, as the Mayor mentioned, and with this current 5-year master plan and this one, we're kind of looking at working with the Parks and Rec Department. We found kind of another application item. We have these old field lights over at Kiteman Row, actually put in, it looked like 1989, so they're over 30 years old. And then we also wanted to do a universal access playground over at the park. So this is kind of the plan. I'd like to show a couple pictures of the area just to kind of go over it, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Bowman to kind of go over the universal access playground. So just to show, this is, this is kind of a site plan for the SHPO that we have to turn in, but this kind of shows we want to put a path in going from the north parking lot, the newly redone parking lot. So the green area is the path back to the universal access playground, the large red area. The two, these are the pole locations for the two fields that are going to receive new lights. The other fields are going to receive retrofitted lights. Here's kind of a picture of the old lights there. They're 1,000-watt metal halide bulbs, so we'll be replacing those with 500-watt LED bulbs that are actually higher quality light. They last 5 times as long. This is the area. This is the area by the north parking lot where we want to put in a path so that handicapped people can access the universal access playground. And then this is a picture of the over 20-year-old playground. So it'll be kind of have port in place, new universal access play features. And I'm going to turn over to Mr. Bowman to kind of go over that with you and the process they went through designing that.
Yeah, we were working with Landscape Structures and Penchera, which is a playground company. Our own, we also had our playground committee. I wasn't really sure. We had our playground committee, and also we brought it up with our Parks and Recreation Commission. We also brought in some folks out in the public from ARC, and actually talked to us, walked us through it, and looked over some different types of playgrounds they thought were pretty effective. The one part over here that's right in the front up here is kind of a, yeah, it's more of a zip line. There you go. It's a zip line, and one side is for individuals with special abilities, and then the other side would be for any other kids using the slide, the zip line, excuse me. This is another view of the two zip lines, and then would also have kind of a merry-go-round that would fit a swing, and plus some of the other play features, as you can see, with a little bit of a baseball theme. This you can see, it's kind of a, where we're utilizing both wood fiber and a special pour-in-place type playground, which would give the kids, all the ones that would need it in wheelchairs, would be able to get to the features that they would be able to use, and plus utilizing the ground just with regular wood chips also. And that one's just another back side view of it where it would start from. And then the last one is just an overhead of the whole project itself.
So kind of, also some benefits of this is we spend money maintaining these lights. They go out. We'll have some more reliability with some new lights over at the playground, or at the different fields, and kind of looking at how much we spend on electricity over at the fields, and the avoided maintenance costs with these lasting 5 times as long. We're looking at saving approximately $5,500 annually. So. With that, I'd like to open it up to any questions.
Sure, and just a couple of items regarding the grant. So the maximum that we're awarded is $300,000 on this one, correct?
Maximum project cost $600,000 for
617.
50/50 match, $300,000 grant. Correct.
So we're a tad over, but it's roughly, we're looking at 50-50 if we were to award it. The grant is awarded somewhere late November, early December is usually, right? And,
Yes.
based on a point total, et cetera. And as a matter of fact, Ms. Rusi asked a question regarding Kite Monroe, because we had gotten an award based from them regarding the skate park, that could that park be eliminated due to the fact that it had received a grant, and they came back and said, no, that was not an issue. They're all based on their own merit, and who submitted and how many they've submitted, all that goes into play, correct?
Correct, and they said a lot of communities just have one park to submit a grant for, so they don't hold that against an applicant.
Okay, up that, we'll open it for questions. Ms. Rusi.
Okay, first off, thank you for your work on this. If you compare the proposed playground with the existing playground, there's no comparison. So this is actually pretty cool. I love the accessible components. I love the two types of grounds. I like the climbing elements that they could appeal maybe to a bigger kid, maybe an older kid a little bit. It's a little bit different than what we have at any other park right now. So I think the same with the zip line and the merry-go-round, just different nature of some of the elements we're proposing will really make this one stand out. So if baseball theming is appropriate. Do we have room if we wanted to, down the line, add maybe like those little ride-in things or something like that, so we have some elements that maybe the littlest kids would like to play on?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I think, I like those little ride-in things to add. They're inexpensive relatively. They're really good for little kids who might want to play here while, their older sibling is playing baseball. And it's good, I think, for theming too. It really can help drive the theming home. But I think this is a great proposal. And I'm really excited for the possibility of bringing this to the kids in St. Clair Shores. So, thank you.
I do want to make a comment. I know the gentleman's there. They brought to us regarding the Horseshoe Club. And I know their desire to get lights there. That has been something long we've been trying to do. It is not currently in this proposal, as it's already more than 600,000. So we're past the 50-50 grant as it is. However, we have worked with Candace Miller, and we do now have the lights. We've had them for quite a while, which were part of the 15-mile project, the sinkhole. And so we are, Mr. Bowman, and working with Mr. Gamble, Mr. Razor, we're going to go out to bid using those lights.
And just bid out the labor.
That's right. And actually, with those lights, so we hope we have more than enough that we may have if we have some type of event down the road, we could use these as portable lights. I mean, just one. And many times when there was mush ball over at St. Isaac's, they rented lights. So, I mean, we may have other use for these lights as we go on, but this is one of them that we're going to do. So we're going to bid that as that and see. But in the past, the Horseshoe Club has given to us $5,000 in the past to help move the project. It's not a cheap project, though. If it was 10 or 15,000, they'd probably be up right now. But we are doing it on a separate one. We hope to have that out here shortly, but that's how that's going, and that's why a great relationship again with Candace Miller allowed us to capture those lights that are great. They have the poles and everything, so it's a good system.
Good.
So hopefully it works, but the labor will not be cheap. Mr. Frederick.
That's great to hear for the Horseshoe Club. I mean, that's a long time coming. I remember when you guys dedicated that little building, everybody came up and said, hey, can we get some lights? That was, how long ago was that? 10 years ago, probably?
Probably.
15? Wow. So a long time coming. That's awesome, Mayor. Thanks for negotiating that. I guess that's huge. My question, and thanks you guys, Bill, Henry. I know we've spent some time together with Candace, and of course we all know Candace loves those little toys there. I'm wondering if there is a spot actually to put one of those swings where the mother and the baby can face each other there too,
The
ongoing.
expression swings.
Impression swings.
Expression.
Expression, that would be another great thing there, because it sure seems like there's a lot of mothers with babies at those baseball games. It's just a crazy thing, but there's so many strollers and babies crying and all that. So that would be a great thing if we could add that to the list, or even if it's later on, however, but put it in the plan and have a spot in there for it.
I definitely would love to see those in every park we have.
Yep, excellent. And, like Candace said, I love the baseball theme. Obviously, that's what's happening in that park. My only real question for content is the path going from the north parking lot back to this area. Is that going to be cement or what are we thinking?
Yes, it would be cement. So,
And can we make sure it's thick enough that we don't lose it because there's gonna be a lot of golf carts driving on there, and sometimes I see trucks driving on there, and
6-inch.
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, let's-
6-inch reinforced with
All
fiberglass
right.
is what the plan
And
is. So
then
it's
and-
going to be, significant.
And is that gonna be where the road is, or is it gonna be next to the road, up that little hill a little bit, or?
It's going to connect right to the parking lot with a path. So it's going to make it easy to, if you're handicapped, you could take a wheelchair from out of your, the van or what, and then go right over there.
Okay, but it won't be the dirt road, won't be where the dirt road is, that's gonna still be the driving path to get the trucks around.
Correct, yeah, this will be north of there, closer to the batting
Okay,
cages.
that's good, that'll help keep that in good shape, so, all right, I love this, I would move to approve.
Support. Moved by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Isha. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, so we look forward to winning the grant come the end of the year.
Beautiful. So nice. Another nice addition.
Item 8, request approval of the Metro Act permit for Everstream. Matthew Copler.
You want to turn it over to Chris Reyes
Oh.
and have him talk about this real
Okay.
quick?
Let's see if he was here, he would have told me that, but now he's not.
Yeah, a little coordination issue going on. Yeah, sure.
Gonna have to get the hand signals out.
I apologize for that.
Mr. Reyes.
Where else would I be on a Monday night?
Yeah.
Huh?
Where else would I be on a Monday night?
Oh, for sure.
So
Where
this,
else would you prefer to be on a Monday night?
Nowhere tonight.
Yeah, there's nowhere to
so
go.
this proposal came from Everstream. They originally said, well, we just want to connect that little office building on the bottom of the page that I showed up. But the problem is they need to extend their backbone to get there, so the part that looks blue or black is in East Point. The other part in pink is running along Beaconsfield in order to make the connection back to that office complex on 8 Mile in Beaconsfield, or Old 8 Mile in Beaconsfield. Everstream purchased what was FiberLink. They were one of the first fiber companies in St. Clair Shores. So they are here, although the name is not familiar. And so they're just asking approval to go within the right-of-way. Obviously, we would approve the final location based on our utilities as well to make sure they're not on top of our stuff. And we did send it to Mike Watts. He had some minor comments about things that need to be included. So I would, if you propose to approve it, I would recommend including all the requirements of Mr. Watts as part of the approval.
Questions?
We're gonna get paid on this too, right?
According to whatever the state law is. on it,
Metro
yes.
Act.
Metro Act, yep.
Yeah, it's not much.
Move to approve the stipulation pending, he's our attorney.
Yes.
Mike
Mike
Watts is our attorney.
Yes.
Attorney reviewing this.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Kieran, supported by Mr. Asha. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Bids, contracts, purchase orders. Request to award bid for Bestie Water Main and Road.
I think he thought Matt was going to take that one, too.
I thought Parks was next.
Okay, request to award bid for Bestie Water Main and Road Construction bid open March 3rd, 2020. Christopher Reyes.
Okay, so Bestie is one of 2 streets currently that we are planning on reconstructing. This is water main and road reconstruction, total removal between Martin Road and Gaffney. The low bidder is Paymar Construction in the amount for both water and roadway of $1,141,248.78. Paymar, along with Mark Anthony Paving, who is their subcontractor, last year completed Visnall and the Engelhart project. It is a water main replacement by pipe bursting method, which is the same we used on the other streets as well, and recommend awarding the contract to Paymar Enterprises for that amount.
Questions? Mr. Karen?
Yeah, Chris, outside of maybe a bit of a late start on Engelhart, that took the project well into November. Any major issues with Paymar? They had a lot of work with us last year, and any issues that would be a
Nothing
hindrance?
substantial. I mean, there's always some issues or understanding. We did have just some issues in terms of notification, which we had spoken about on a Saturday, make sure that what we're told is going to happen actually happens. So I think they now have that understanding clearly. And without adding that extra piece on last year, we may not have run into that issue anyway. So overall, I think they did a good job. The road rides well. They did everything they could to get it sodded and made normal for everybody. So I think in general, they did a nice job for us.
Yeah, that was one thing I did in terms of the restoration work of, or probably some others, was that, well, we'll get to it in the spring, we'll just leave it as dirt, but somehow they stockpiled the sod in time, so they were able to put that down, and
Yes.
we'll see how it kind of comes in this spring, but.
With all the rain, I
it's-
think we'll have good sod in the spring.
Yeah. Okay. That, move to approve.
Moved by Mr. Karen, supported by Mr. Asha.
Yeah, that's me.
Mr. Frederick.
Yeah, just, Chris, I know Bestie, I've gotten calls from some of those folks on basement flooding in the past, and I'm just wondering, is this going to alleviate some of that, I hope? I know we're pipe bursting, but so we're not putting anything any bigger in there.
We're pipe bursting the water main. We're doing nothing
Oh,
with the sanitary or other storm. I mean,
So
We fixed Bestie.
Yeah, we replaced the
three-
sanitary
I
sewer
know.
on the other side of Dusty.
Which
On
was,
the
I
other
think, the
side,
biggest
yeah.
problem, I think.
You think that's, I haven't gotten any calls
Yes.
in the last year and a half.
That was,
so-
that.
the issue we
that
had was the section between Gaffney and 12
Mile.
Mile, which we did pipe burst and the sanitary last year.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure, because it's,
Yep.
we're tearing
2
the
years
street
ago.
up, let's, fix everything. So in terms of the storm sewers, those are all being replaced.
We televise all that ahead of time to make sure we know what it is we have and replace anything and everything that needs to be replaced.
Are those, are those Ys in there up from the house to the street for sanitary and weep tile, or is it, are they dual?
No, most of those homes, unless they put a sump pump in later, are on a single footing drain still tied into the sanitary.
I wonder, is there something that we should let these people know if there's an opportunity to switch that out, or is it too late probably for this project?
It'd be difficult, I think, to get them in on time. We usually let them know that about their sanitary lead ahead of time, and we look at that ahead of time. And even when we did the televising a couple of years ago, I think now, we sent the letters to all the homeowners advising them of the issue, but I can double check that and make sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. Just, we're trying to increase capacity, and, so basements don't flood and all the other stuff that Candace Miller's doing, so I don't know if that helps it in any way. Thanks, Chris, appreciate it.
Mr. Vitale.
Couple things, Chris. In this stretch of Bestie, I believe there is a large sewer interceptor line. Are you aware of that, or if that has been inspected by Candace Miller's office?
There's not one on Bestie itself. It ties into the 11.5 mile relief on Martin Road, but down Bestie itself, there's not. There's one on Gaffkey, there's one on Martin, but not a main.
You're familiar with that, if you look at it on a satellite, that there is an area that runs east to west where you have homes with double lots.
Right.
And the reason for the double lots is, as I was always told, there can't be anything built over that interceptor. That, I believe, would continue on to Bestie.
I know, like, in your specific situation, there's
Yeah.
water main that runs through your property, or just south of your property line, right in that area that we're gonna have some issues we gotta deal with. But I'll verify there's not a sanitary in there as well.
Well, I raised that because I did once look up the county drain map for my property, which is behind Bestie, and they did show an interceptor there that we didn't have on city maps. Now, that was 15 years ago, so I may be a little clouded on that, but that area that is undeveloped is very large.
Right.
It's more than you'd need for a water main. So there's got to be some reason they never built on any of that property. And I'm basically just bringing that up because if, Candace Miller is actually looking at drains, unlike the previous drain commissioner, so I wouldn't want us to go replace the street and then find out that a piece of that drain has to come out or something like that. So I don't know, maybe
I'll send you a note on our findings on that.
communicate something on that. And there are a lot of short side streets like Sherry, a couple other ones that intercept. Are those streets in good condition? They probably don't see a lot of traffic.
They're, I'd say mixed condition, not as bad as Bestie.
Where they meet Bestie, won't have a trouble where now we've got a good piece of concrete and then a kind of a beat up piece of concrete at that?
No.
We won't have an issue there?
We walked it all, and I instructed engineers on how far to go back on each street, so we make sure we tie in to good pavement on all of those streets.
That's exactly what I was looking for.
So, there's some issues with utility poles on the sidewalk, some fire hydrants and whatnot, so that, we did a thorough walkthrough. We will be shutting down some of those streets and making everybody go to the end, so we don't have to patch the road together to get access to every block, because they all do connect around the back. But there'll be meetings and notices for all that work, so.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Moved by Mr. Karen, supported by Mr. Asher to award to Palmer Enterprises $1,141,248.78. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Item B is request award to bid for Hughes Road construction, bid open March 3rd.
So this project, as is written up, we did not include the water main as it did not have a history of significant breaks. So there's going to be two parts of this. The original project, which was the low bidder to Mark Anthony Contracting, is in the amount of $649,990.20 for the road reconstruct. Subsequent to it going out to bid, the water main is in fact a 1928 water main. We're recommending, even though we haven't had a lot of breaks, that now is the time to do that. And are recommending as part two of this, under our unit prices from the previous contractor, Paymar, to go ahead and add the water main in the amount of $334,000 based on the unit prices and estimated by our engineers on the additional cost. The money is in the budget for this additional work, and it'd be, I think, prudent on our part, because if we decide to do that and bid it, one, it would delay this project to possibly not being done this year, and ultimately, the pricing would probably be more because it'd be so late into the year. So ultimately, I think by doing it in this method, it'd be a distinction without a difference by just proceeding with this method, and we already are awarding to a low bidder. We've spoken to both Paymar and Mark Anthony. They are going to be co-subs to each other for the work, and will coordinate the work and are willing to take on the work if that's what council wants to do.
Questions? Mr. Asher?
Yes, thank you. Chris, so is the total bid 600,000
It'd be-
for the water main and the concrete?
No, it'd be 650, let's say,
Yeah.
and 334.
So,
Oh, so it added 334?
yeah, so
Yes.
you're like 984.
But where's the bidding for Palmer?
It was actually under the Bestie because they bid the water main, so we used their unit pricing from Bestie.
But shouldn't it be bid out directly for this?
It should have been, but it wasn't, because they did it based on the breaks and not on the age. And so we don't want to put the water main's not under the road, but you still have to dig up the front lawns again, dig up the approaches again.
No, that's
And all
fine,
that, so.
I was just trying to get it clear in my head of what was going on.
Unfortunately, it should have been coordinated, it was missed, and so we're offering this as a solution.
I thought maybe he was a sub of Anthony's.
So you're using the unit prices, in essence, for the water main project
The low bid prices for the water main.
for the Bestie project.
Correct.
Mr. Vitale?
Just because I don't think it's called out in here, so maybe residents at home know. This would be Hughes Street all the way from Meyer to Martin?
No, it'd be from Gafke to 12 Mile.
Oh, I'm thinking of the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, it's not called out in here, so.
Yeah, it's a block over and a block up from Bestie.
Okay.
It's a
that's
failing road.
Yeah, it is. They're both, but, okay. All right, thank you.
Ms. Rusi?
Thank you. When was the issue discovered about the one part not being included in the request for bids?
It was, I believe it was just after the bids were open, or just, I can't remember, it was just before or just after the bids were within a day or two of the bids, and we're like,
So we've had it out for a while, and all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, this is a 92-year-old, I mean.
well, we were
what-
looking at other issues for capital and whatnot as part of the budget project, actually, and then we were looking at budgeting other mains and whatnot, and that's when we were looking at the date of the water main.
I mean, you would think that would have come, someone would have looked at the day of the water main when the bid specs were being created.
It should have been, like I said, the water department tracks mains by breaks, and so now we've added all the ages of all the water mains into the spreadsheet, so we can look at both together.
Yeah, because that would be a good piece of information to have when planning these projects, given this is a 92-year-old one, and apparently we didn't know that for a long time, you know? Do you think we would have gotten better unit pricing if we would have bid both projects separately and sought pricing specifically for this project, or bid them out together as one project?
I'd hate to say no, but I don't think it'd be significant.
Okay, and why was the decision made to use the unit pricing from the previous bid versus bidding out this component of it separately?
Well, this is the bid that was just open for water main prices for Bestie.
Yeah, for the Bestie project, but not for this project. I'm just wondering why the decision was made to utilize that unit pricing applied to here versus bid this project out separately for that component of it when it was discovered that that part was
Well,
missing.
we could bid it out, but what we've been doing, based on council's direction, to start the water mains before July 1, so we can get the projects done sooner in the year as opposed to going into November.
So it was a timing consideration that led to this decision to apply the unit pricing from one contract to another?
Correct.
Thank you.
And just to clarify that, I think as we were looking at the options, once we realized that this line was as old as what it is, and to make sure that we're not spending money twice.
Right.
We wanted to make sure you had the option to take a track that would allow this project to be on schedule. And if you're not comfortable with that, we're prepared to go back out to bid. We believe that this is probably as close to the lowest bid, if not the lowest bid that we would get if we did bid it out. As Mr. Ray said, the later we bid these projects out, the higher the unit prices tend to be because, all these companies get very busy very quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Karen?
Yeah, Chris, one of the things you got estimate in the summary justification background, estimated cost of Hughes water main replacement, couldn't find a document for that showed how the 334,000 was calculated. Is that in there that I missed?
I gave it to be included, so,
So I got the bid tab for the street replacement, the spreadsheet for the street replacement, and then it goes right to the bids.
it is this page, which is
Not
right
have that.
behind the unit prices for the road work.
Does anybody else see
No.
that one?
No.
I did not.
Okay, well. I don't know why mine has it.
All right, and so these are just all the exact costs pulled over from the Bessie bid for Paymar, or Palmer, whatever they're called.
Paymar.
Paymar, thank you. And then,
And engineers looked at it based on fire hydrants and gates and length, and then applied that unit price to come up with that number.
gotcha, okay. There we go, you can pass that down. Okay, thank you.
Motion to be in order?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Asha. I'm sorry, I didn't catch down here.
Me.
Okay. Supported by Mr. Kieran to, I presume that motion is to approve, or I'm presuming, for both, okay, right, Mr.
Yes.
Asha? It's for both the street and
The water main.
The water main, so the street being to Mark Anthony Contracting, and for $334,000 to Paymar. Questions regarding that motion was made again by Mr. Asha, supported by Mr. Kieran. Other questions regarding it? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
5-1, it passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9C is approval of the golf maintenance building roof coating project. Our superintendent, Sal, and our Parks and Director, Henry.
Good evening again, council. Sal's been working on this project for quite a while, and I'm really happy to say we've come together with a pretty good project. It's going to take care of the roof of the golf building, and I'll turn it over to Sal.
Yeah, we're here tonight to request approval to award the golf course maintenance building roof coating project to Thermal Tech of Michigan Incorporated. Is there any questions?
There's a lot of issues with this. Is this going to work?
We had HRC take a look, and they believe they wrote a letter of recommendation and thinking that it would solve our issues with the rust and the sealing it up, I guess, yeah, and stop the leaks.
Okay. Mr. Vitale?
It's got a 10-year warranty, which is stated in here.
Yeah.
You're way under your budget amount.
That's for both buildings, to get both cold storage and our maintenance building covered.
I mean, this looks like a win-win.
I do have a sample if anybody's interested in looking at what the final
I would
product
be,
looks at.
sure. Can this, after 10 years, can this then have another recoat? I mean, how many coats can you get out of this? I guess.
The total amount of coats, I'm not positive, but he did say if we have it recoated before the expiration of our warranty, they'll warranty it for another 10 years.
Oh, so potentially we get 19 years out of it, we'll say theoretically.
Correct.
And this is like a poured?
Yes, it's a spray-on, I guess.
Okay.
I believe the process is they put an adhesive on. Well, first, they repair all the holes and such in the roof by patching those, and then they coat it with an adhesive. They lay that polymer down, and then they coat it again, and then another third coat with the granulars. So it comes out just like almost like an asphalt type roofing system.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
You done?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Frederick?
So I really wish we got a new roof. However, I get it, we're under budget. And HRC is okay with the additional weight on that current structure?
Yes.
And in terms of the rust on that roof, do they paint the whole thing? I mean, this is going to be, obviously it'll be taken out of the weather, but that rust will still come through from the bottom up, right? So, I mean, are we doing anything on the inside to make sure that's not happening, or?
As of right now, we are not doing anything on the inside.
All right. I just, I know they're going to guarantee their part of that work for 10 years.
Correct.
But, I mean, if something fails on the inside, what happens?
I'd have to look into that and get an
All
answer
right.
for you.
If you can just ask them if there's something we should be doing from the inside. I mean, we're under budget, so if there's something we should be doing, whether it's like I'm almost thinking like Chris, like you say, like a Z-Bart coating on the inside, just to make sure that, we're blocking off that moisture. But I like the fact that you're saving some money. We're getting that done. We're getting the water off of our equipment that we pay a lot of money for. Sal, thanks for all the hard work on this. I definitely would be a yes.
Ms. Rushi?
Thank you. First off, thanks for your work on this. This is a really necessary project, especially given the equipment, everything we store in that building to engage in the software protection. Thank you for bringing the sample in. That definitely helps visualize what this type of product is. I ask this every time we have one of these type of bids and we only get one bid. Do you know why the reason is we only got one bid? Is this just a really specialty type of thing and that's why?
It is. It's proprietary procedure product that they use.
Is it like a single source type thing? Okay, so, and this is obviously a good price for it then. I mean, this is what it costs, so this is a single source supplier.
Yes, and we also, I believe HRC and also Sal himself actually did some checking with companies that have already used these roofs, and the reports back are all positive.
Okay, so it's a good product at a fair price.
We
Okay,
believe
great.
so, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Asha?
Yeah, it's a pretty heavy mill. It's pretty thick. It's really impressive. So thanks for looking into it, and that should do the job. Motion to approve.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Asha, supported by Mr. Frederick to approve it. Mr. Karen?
Yeah, just kind of refresh my memory here, because I think we challenged HRC to go out and find a product that would get us under budget for what we wanted to spend on the roof, and that's basically where they came in with the
Yes.
specialized product for it, right?
Yes.
And second thing, we're not going to tell Tim Dorner we're fixing the roof. Nobody tell Tim. If he comes in one day and you haven't seen it, fine, but let's not tell him at all.
All right.
Moved by Mr.
He used to have
Isha.
like a pot on his desk because of
Water.
leaks at one time.
Rust or
So, yeah.
water.
Water. Moved by Mr. Isha, supported by Mr. Frederick to approve the roof coating project to Thermaltech, Michigan, the amount of $46,755. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Sal, thanks. Henry, thanks.
When can they get started, do you think?
I'm going to call them tomorrow and see when we can get them out.
Well, let us know, send us a little note.
Will do. Yes, thank you.
Consent agenda?
I moved to approve and just want to note that we are including two different local state of emergency orders. One to deal with flooding from the high water levels, and then also additional one that got added tonight, local state emergency order in accordance with Section 10, 1996, Public Act 390 for the COVID-19 issues that we're going to be facing.
And that goes through June, right?
Through June, yes.
Yep, June 16th, so
Support.
that if we need it, we can approve it on June 15th, which is a council meeting again.
If we have to extend it after that. Yep.
Yes.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item 12 is updates and follow-ups from prior meetings. Matthew Koppler, City Manager.
We only had one item
Yes.
from the last council meeting. That was Councilman Isha's question about Joyce Street. I'm still working on that, and hopefully my time tomorrow will be able to deal with that.
All right, tomorrow, you said?
Yeah, hopefully I'll be talking with the residents tomorrow.
Okay, great, thank you. Fantastic.
Item 13 are comments by individual council. Mr. Isha.
Oh, thank you. I just want to let everybody know, be safe out there, use common sense, and we'll get through this. And, you know, we've been through similar things. This one's a little different. If you have older neighbors, maybe you could check on them once in a while. Call them, at least call them. You don't have to go there, but call them. They appreciate the visit anyway, just to call them. So just be safe. And good luck to everybody.
Thank you. Ms. Rusi.
Thank you. I will echo my colleagues' comments. Looking on your neighbors, your friends, your relatives. Remember that if you're taking precautions and protective measures for your family, make sure that other people are doing the same for theirs and have the resources available for theirs as well. Give them a call, make sure they're prepared too, and give thanks to our first responders and medical staff. There's a lot of uncertainty here. I don't think things have been changing on an hour-by-hour basis in terms of the fluid nature of the recommendations and the mandates. They're coming from multiple sources. There's a lot of uncertainty there, and there are people who still are, we count on to do these jobs even more so in this type of situation. So thanks to our first responders and the medical staff. And finally, keeping safe and support, and supporting all the mandates, recommendations, that support the local businesses because they're hurting right now. St. Clair Shores is full of mom and pop businesses. So support them in whatever way you can now because this is hard on everybody and this is hard on them. And they support our community when we ask them to. From raffle baskets to donations to sponsorship ads to everything, our local business steps up. So step up and support them too as we can under the current mandates and recommendations and do so safely. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Karen.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd echo all the same comments. And also, I think, wasn't in particular to our police department, but did see in the news of, either was news or posting, police will respond in an emergency in that, but if it's not an emergency situation, let's not overtax them in this time. Let's not risk that they have to worry about exposure in that. So if everyone just gets along with their neighbors and kind of takes care of each other during this time, it's a greatly helpful to our force and helps our first responders out greatly to not tax them. And just kind of at some point, life will get to normal. As kind of evidence of that, my nephew texted me today, who he graduates from Michigan Tech, where I went to school, and he's going to get a degree in electrical engineering here in another couple months. Looks like we won't have a commencement, maybe a virtual commencement that'll happen in that, but he did get accepted and decided to go on to University of Oklahoma to get a degree in medical physics.
Wow.
And the reason for that is at the end of his freshman year of college, he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma and survived chemotherapy and radiation and wants to go in to design and build medical equipment. And so he's partnering his electrical engineering degree with medical physics in order to enable him to do that. So greatly proud of him, and at some point, life will go on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Frederick.
Thanks, Mayor. So Oklahoma, Oklahoma, right?
I told him it's better sooner than later.
Nah, love it. Okay, well, let's start with library announcements tonight. The library's closed, so there are no announcements. As well as
We wondered if you were going to have any of that, but, so.
Dang, I lost a bet to Matt.
Pay him. But they're, the senior center's closed, everything as of tomorrow will be closed to the public. But as Matt mentioned, you still will be able to call and try and get some work done if necessary. I do want to mention, and this goes to what Matt was talking about earlier, that through the Communications Commission, that we've expanded our social footprint, our social media footprint here in the city. In addition to the website and Facebook, which many people know about, we now have a Twitter account, which is the twitter.com/SCSCityGovT. We have an Instagram account, which is the same thing, Instagram.com/SCSCityGovT. We also have a YouTube channel, and this is for going back and looking at stuff that we've already produced, whether it's a council or some of the shows that we all do here, as well as what the mayor does, and all of our department heads are going to be on there as well. And then last but not least, we have Vimeo, which is another video service, Vimeo.com, user 267-81059. So we fully expanded our social media update, and John dinged me when I sent the thank you back because we hadn't added it to our signatures yet. He goes, "That's great. How come it's not on your signature?" And you notice I put it on immediately. So way to go, John.
On that device.
On that device. Well, how many devices do I have, right? Okay. I do want to, according to what Mr. Ashe said about, helping your neighbors out, a huge thank you to all the neighbors out there who are helping out. I want a special thanks to the neighbors in my mother's neighborhood who are helping immensely. So special thanks to those folks. And, obviously take a look at the people on your street. Know that there might be something that needs either it's, going to the store so we're not putting them at risk, something like that. And the other big thank you is going to go out. I talked to several business owners, not on purpose, just by accident, who talked to them about what's going on with their business and their employees. And I just want to say thanks to the businesses who are going to continue to pay their people while they're closed. I think that's a big deal. And you can imagine it's all the usual ones that are always helping us out here at the city, buying ads and donating things. So huge thank you to them. They're always there for us and whoever needs it. So thanks to all of those who are continuing to pay their employees while they're closed. And then last but not least, and this is kind of for Mr. Rubino, his son Matthew is on the Lakeview football team, and they're doing a fundraiser for 2020. I don't know if any of you got it up here.
Yep.
But if you go to, this is a GoFundMe or a We Fund For You page. If you look up Matt Rubino under that, you can donate by clicking on the button, and then you can also share it on Facebook if you want. It's the We Fund For You fundraiser page, and it's for Lakeview football, Matt Rubino. So Pete, let's see if we can get him over $500. And Mayor, unbelievably, that's all I have.
All righty. Thank you. Mr. Vitale.
I never thought I'd be disappointed in a lack of library announcements. Well, I guess there's a lot of echoing going out here tonight, and, I do echo the sentiments of my colleagues, and I'll add the additional note that I did ask, I had been waiting all day long, actually chomping at the bit to ask our city attorney about the legality of what's being done here, and if the governor truly had that power. Before I could finish saying it, he was nodding his head, yes, yes, yes. So keep that in mind. We're not shutting these businesses down. At least I would never vote for that. And you can feel free if you want to shake my hand. But I'll leave that there. It is what it is, and we'll have to get through it. And please don't hoard things. I actually look after a senior person who legitimately needed toilet paper, could not find any toilet paper. So I had to dip into my personal stash, which is no personal stash, I just bought it the week before.
48 cases or what?
Yeah. There's always a good old-fashioned washcloth, people. Well, that's how they did it in the olden days.
That's why I'm not shaking hands.
Let's not completely lose our minds. Anyways, just to move back into normal business, Becky, could you put that up there? Because I do want to talk about something that I think kind of affects senior people. Could you separate those? One's a sticky. The reason I'm raising this is I thought these guys were done. Well, actually, put both of them up there, but.
They're not done.
Side by side?
Yeah. I thought these guys were done because the hailstorm was such a long time ago. And I'm going to tell you that if I knew then what I know now about these companies that are coming through and doing this wind and hail, I would have made a public service announcement like this, because I know of so many incidences where they came through, maybe talked to a senior citizen, maybe talked over them or over their head or something like that, told them that they needed a new roof and that their insurance company was going to pay for it. And guess what? It didn't always work out that way, because insurance companies didn't always pay for everything that they did or everything that they wanted to be paid for. And I will also tell you, in another instance, a senior person who knew me from city council said that they were told they had all this roof damage by someone that came through the neighborhood after the storm. I had a gentleman who's done roofs for me in the past go out, inspect this roof, which, by the way, was the simplest design roof there is. There wasn't even a hip in it or anything like that. The senior citizen for a 1,000-square-foot house was quoted at $10,000 to replace the roof. My roof guy got up there and said, this roof's got another 20 years in it. There's no damage up here. And I got this on a home that I own that says, my roof has wind and hail damage. Let me tell you something, and that roof's it's a very tall house with a very steep roof. You can't tell unless you got on my roof if I had wind or hail damage on it. And they used a technique to try to look like they actually hand wrote this note to me. By the way, 517 number should be an indication it's not necessarily a local company. I didn't have the chance with all the stuff that's going on with COVID to ask if they're licensed in our community, but I have a feeling that they're not. This type of solicitation is very dishonest, plays on fear. Be careful of this. That's the reason I'm raising it out there tonight. So that was all I had.
Mayor, if I could have a quick redo.
Yes, Mr.
As I just got a text. Cheryl Furdos, Chair of the Parade Committee, wanted to just pass along the public, basically apologies for having to cancel the parade spaghetti or dinner that was going to be this Thursday. Pending whatever's going to happen, they do hope to still have the fundraiser.
They do.
At some point for the parade, but.
I don't think the date's early, but they're working at mid-May, something to that
Right,
effect,
yep.
that, yes.
And that, and also, and in the hopes of, parade will still go on. They're always going to still need convertibles and that for, to have celebrities and dignitaries to be driven in the parade. So if anyone wants to drive in the parade with a convertible, you can contact the parade committee to help out. Thank you.
Great. Item 15 is audience participation. Anyone like to speak? Yes, we have one, I believe. Yes, sir, come on up. the name and the city you reside in, and then Mr. Reyes will show you where you sign in afterwards. So you have to sign in after, but after you speak, okay?
Okay, my name is Eric Eggert. I live in St. Clair Shores on Doremus.
All righty.
And I just want to throw something at you. I'll be rather brief. I was charged $250 for a sandbag an area of my house last year.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I haven't paid it, so they raised it up to over $300 now. But what they did was basically stupid. It didn't do anything to stop the trickle of water. Here's what they did. They used my garage.
Sir, you can't use that.
I can't?
You can't. Unfortunately, we have a policy, and if you just come on over, we have a
Well, I've
policy.
got pictures here.
Yeah, that's great.
What they did was they used my garage and a neighbor's
Can you
house
hold the
as a
clock?
barrier for
Can you
water.
just hold the clock for a moment? Sir, hang on one second. I just want to make sure the viewers realize. We hold that machine so that it's not that we don't want you to put up there. We just usually ask people ahead of time so we know what goes up there so someone can't. That's the only reason. It's not because it's you, because you have this. It's the policy usually, so we know what's going up there ahead of time. So I'm just not trying to have you do it, okay? I just want to make sure and the audience realizes that. So that's why we did that. Well, I know there's no one here, sir, but
Yeah, I
we're talking to
understand.
the TV.
No problem.
Okay, I'm Mary Bergini. I don't want you to lose your time.
I want to keep it really short. What they did was they sandbagged, using my garage and the house as a barrier. It didn't do any good, except it damaged my garage, it damaged my floors. It didn't stop the water, it still trickled down. And the water was not coming from my house, it was coming from 2 doors down. They sandbagged across the back. It ran from their house to my neighbor's house.
Yes.
And then it hit the fence line and came straight down the fence line. I was not leaking any water, doing anything. It was just trickling. But what happened was they sandbagged there. The water built up. It flooded my garage, flooded my backyard. It still trickled out. It didn't do any good. And I've been billed for it.
Okay.
So that's all I have to say. I filed an appeal when they first did it. The appeal was denied. And, you know, the denial letter had a lot of false statements in there.
Okay.
And I reappealed, and I haven't heard from them. This was in August.
All right.
And-
If you could give your number to the city clerk,
Okay.
and I will have the city manager contact you and review it. And
Okay,
have-
I dealt with the city manager on this.
Okay.
I sent you a letter. I talked to you on the phone, Eric.
Well, let me tell you this. I will instruct him to contact you again.
Okay.
And then have him work with you, and I'm not saying we're waiving it, but I will instruct him to contact you. You can sit down or talk on the phone regarding the issue again, okay?
Okay, not a problem, okay. But you want these pictures here?
Yeah,
or-
sure, hand him, yeah. All right, you grab his number, you get him to sign in, okay. Sir, you're done, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Thank you. So, item 16 is just the mayor's comments. I just got 2 quick items. One is regarding, kind of piggyback off Councilwoman Rusi, which talks about local businesses. You know, we'll all leave here tonight and go home, and then when you drive down Harper, it will, truthfully, it'll be sad. That you will see all our, what do you got there, Mr. Frederick?
Did we skip this?
What is it?
This is the,
City's manager's report?
is this under consent agenda, maybe? City manager's report was for Mary Katowski Travel?
Yeah, under 14.
Consent.
City manager's report, consent was 11. This is city manager's report.
Okay,
Oh,
sorry to
you still
interrupt.
want to go, Mary? Okay, Matt, we'll need you for a minute.
Sorry,
Sir?
Mayor, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's good.
Yes.
We missed you.
I was going to say I had no report tonight.
No, you have.
Yes, you do.
Mary's Travel.
Oh.
And she said she wanted to go.
Yeah.
Do you need this over there?
This is why these should be subsections on the agenda, so they're actually on the agenda.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The city clerk is requesting to attend the IIMC annual conference this year. We believe that, this is something that's going to be very valuable to helping the city address future issues as they come up and looking to see what the rest of the world is doing with the same issues that we are and how to better serve our residents. I think possibly they're going to get the better of this, though, because I think what our city clerk is doing here is a little bit out in advance of a lot of areas. So a little sharing and cross-pollination is always good.
Ms. Russi.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's for stuff under city manager's report. If it could not be under city manager's report and actually a subsection of some agenda, some other item or even a subsection of that, so it's actually explicitly named out. I think that would be cool. That way residents see it's on the agenda in case they have any input without having to page through 300 pages of the online PDF to know what's there. And us too, because apparently sometimes we forget.
Sure.
So I think having on the mayor's menu when he goes through would be pretty good too. I know the value Mary Katowski provides. And I know that she'll go to this conference and learn things that we need to know to keep our clerk's office as top-notch as it is. I assume obviously that this is pending the conference still going on, given the uncertainty, because who knows anything anymore. So I will move to approve with it obviously being contingent upon the conference happening.
Moved by Ms. Russi, supported by Mr. Frederick. Questions by Mr. Frederick?
Just, I'm in full favor of this best practices stuff, because even, after this virus thing that's going on now, there's probably going to be a lot to talk about and a lot of stuff. Like right now, Ohio is trying to move their election to June, and I mean, to me, it's like, why aren't we just all voting everybody absentee and get it done? Well,
that'd be one reason.
Well, but there's got to be ways to make sure that our great city clerk would know how to get it done. But either way, the best practices for every department, I think, is a good thing. So I'm happy to support this as well.
Ms.
Yep, and one additional point that this is for half of the recertification education requirements that she needs. So it's not just, for plain education, which is important too, but it's also for research purposes, which is also important. So as an additional point.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Back to two comments by the mayor, which is me.
What were you saying, Mayor?
I was saying that, when we drive home tonight, we will see many local businesses, right? They will be dark, and it'll be sad, and they will not only struggle, but their employees will struggle. So I know people are hesitant to get out, but many of them will be doing carry out, and I guess, if you're going to spend money, please spend it in St. Clair Shores. They need it. We're a community. We work together. They'll need the assistance. So make sure if you're out there, spend the money here locally. It is at the end of the day, I think it's in dire need. So it's important. So I plead that you do that. And then second, just regarding the city and the employees, this is, I guess, now maybe the third time in a year that we have had, I think, emergencies. The one has been the high water, which still exists now, will be in our second year. The second one came November last year, which was the lead service line issue, and here we go with the virus. And once again, in these meetings that I attend, we have a tremendous staff that care about the community, care about the residents, care about doing the right thing. So when you sit in them like I do, you feel good. You feel good, truthfully, in your soul. You know that people care and they want to do what's right, and that's what we're trying to do. There'll be, people will say this, and we're doing that, but at the end of the day, we are trying to do what's right. That's what we're trying to do, and maybe we will make mistakes as we go along, but we're trying to do what's right, take care of our employees, try to take care of our community here, and get through an issue that, may last several months, maybe it'll last 30 days. You hear different issues as late as today that it could be in the summertime. Who knows? As I said earlier, we're trying to move slowly and respond as we go along. But We got a great staff here, we got great people, and I'm proud to be part of the community and proud to be the mayor of the city. It's a great place, so we will work together, and St. Clair Shores, at the end of the day, always comes out a better community because we got great people. So I really appreciate that, and I appreciate the staff. So with that, we will go into closed session under State Statute 15.268, Section E. Brad Patrick versus the City of St. Clair Shores.
Move to go into closed session.
Support. Moved by Mr. Frederick, supported by Ms. Rusi. Hang on, Peter. Mary, roll call.
Councilmember Frederick.
Aye.
Councilmember Karen.
Aye.
Councilmember Aisha. Councilmember Rusi.
Aye.
Councilmember Vitale.
Aye.
Mayor Walby.
Aye. Good night.